7 p.m. This is the Health and Government Operations Committee. We have one withdrawal. May I have a motion, please? All right, it's been moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Thank you. No opposition. Let's move on to House Bill 969, and that is Public Service Commission, Cybersecurity Staffing and Assessments, Critical Infrastructure Cybersecurity Act of 2023. It is favorable. It is Lindsay and Delegate Kurt. Lindsay, can you explain the bill, please?
We are secondary on this bill. ECM is the primary committee. The bill requires the Public Service Commission to include in its staff one or more employees that are experts in cybersecurity for certain purposes. In supervising and regulating public service companies, PSC must also consider the protection of a public service company's infrastructure against cyber attack threats. PSC must collaborate with the Office of Security Management to establish cybersecurity standards and best practices for regulated entities, taking into account utility needs and capabilities based on size. By October 1st, 2023, and every 2 years thereafter, PSC must evaluate the assessments submitted by public service companies under the bill for cybersecurity-related policies and procedures, including cybersecurity and data privacy threat protections, and submit the evaluation to the Office of Security Management and MDEM. The bill also includes a one-time requirement in uncodified language that by October 1st, 2024, PSC conduct an evaluation based on assessments conducted on a public service company's IT devices under the bill. Each public service company, except common carriers and telephone companies, must adopt and implement cybersecurity standards that are equal to or exceed the standards adopted by PSC, adopt a zero-trust cybersecurity approach for on-premises services and cloud-based services, and establish minimum security standards for each operational technology and IT device. Additionally, beginning 2024 and at least every other year thereafter, each affected public service company must contract with a third party to conduct an assessment of the operational technology and IT devices based on specified security frameworks. Each company must submit to PSC the results and recommendations along with certification of the company's compliance with the standards used in the assessment. There are no amendments on this bill, and to head off questions, there was unfavorable testimony from the utility companies and PSC, and some suggested amendments from the Cybersecurity Council. I asked the ECM staff why there are no amendments on this bill based on that, and was advised that they are moving this bill now to help motivate some cooperation and suggested changes, and they expect to be making amendments on the Senate cross-file.
All right, so let's just do a motion in a second and open up for discussion. It's been moved in second, so let's discuss it. Are there any questions on this favorable bill? Delegate Morgan.
What was the vote in ECM?
1 second. Just give us 1 second.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the question.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it. And while we wait, thank you everyone for your work on the floor. It was very smooth. Thank you.
It was 19-3, 1 absent.
Okay. Any concerns or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? I have Delegate Shalega, Delegate Chisholm, Delegate Morgan, Delegate Riley, Delegate Hutchinson, and Delegate Kipke.
Just to clarify, there is a Senate cross-file on this bill, and so I guess they're expecting the bills to cross and then to deal with them after crossing.
Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay, for your work on every single bill. Next, we're going to go to House Bill 702. That's Delegate Kurt, Healthcare Facilities, Nursing Homes, Acquisitions, and Licensure. That is favorable with amendment, and that is Lisa and Rosenberg. Lisa, can you explain the bill and the amendments, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
House Bill 702 requires the Maryland Healthcare Commission, when evaluating a notice of acquisition or transfer of interest of a nursing home, to provide written findings and recommendations to the Office of Healthcare Quality. The findings and recommendations must include the quality ratings of facilities currently or previously owned by the purchaser, the tax identification number of each purchaser, the personal centers for Medicare and Medicaid services certification number of each purchaser, and a summary of the findings and the basis for the recommendations. The Secretary of Health must consider MHCC's findings and recommendations before taking action to approve, deny, approve with conditions, or revoke a nursing home license. The amendments include additional quality of care metrics for MHCC to include in its written findings and recommendations, require the Healthcare Commission to conduct a study on expanding the Certificate of Need program to nursing homes, and assess elimination of rooms with more than 2 beds, and otherwise address issues related to the acquisition of nursing homes.
The heart of the bill is, in terms of the long term, is the amendments, and specifically the study by the Healthcare Commission in consultation with stakeholders, both administrative, nursing home owners, consumer representatives, representatives of organized labor, and specifically looking at the issue of the Certificate of Need programs, certificate program, and whether that should apply here, the acquisition of these homes. And that report is due to us 12/1/23. So this issue would be back before us next year. So I would move the amendments.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion or concerns? Seeing none on the amendments, all in favor say yes. Say aye. Any opposition? Seeing none on the bill as amended? Is it moved in second? Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? And who does not want to be on the bill? Okay. On House Bill 774, assisted living programs, unlicensed programs, resident abuse and neglect. It is favorable. It is Lisa and Rosenberg. Move the bill. All right, it's been moved. It has, they are, okay. It's okay. It happens. Hey, you've been batting like 150, so it's okay. No, that's my fault. 1,000. Batting 1,000, okay? Whatever the greatest number is, you've been batting it. You've been doing it. It's all good. And you think I should know that, right? So it's favorable with amendment. Lisa, you want to go ahead?
So the bill requires the Maryland Department of Health to investigate credible allegations of assisted living residents having been subjected to neglect, exploitation, or abuse when a person is found to be knowingly and willfully operating, maintaining, or owning an unlicensed assisted living program. If neglect, exploitation, or abuse is found, the person operating the unlicensed program must be subject to immediate prosecution. If the health department finds no reason to believe that residents have been subjected to exploitation, neglect, or abuse, the health department must provide written notice to the unlicensed program requiring compliance with the licensure requirements within 30 days. A person operating an unlicensed program may not be subject to prosecution if they promptly and in good faith submit a complete application for licensure. There are amendments that name the bill at the Senator Dolores Kelly Residents of Unlicensed Programs Protection
nice.
Act.
That's beautiful.
And make technical changes. The amendments also specify that the Office of Healthcare Quality will investigate an allegation if the department does not, adds exploitation to the allegations that will be investigated, and specifies that all abuse and not just physical abuse will be investigated, and makes clarifying changes, and the amendments authorize the department to adopt regulations.
All right, Rosenberg.
Yes, I was well-deserved amendment for Senator Kelly would conform this bill to the Senate bill. And so it was not considered by us until today when council informed us of that. And I would, just for the record, Senator Kelly, her one term in the House, she was a delegate with me in District 42, Delegate Kipke, when I was not yet in my 42nd year. in the legislature. So a well-deserved tribute, and the bill is greater review of these facilities and the care that people are being provided. So I would move all of the amendments.
They've been moved in second. Any questions or concerns? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any objection to the amendments? See none on the bill as amended? They've been moved in second. Any discussion? Delegate Hill.
Question, because I don't see it in the bill itself. How quickly after an allegation is the department required to begin the investigation? We talk about 30 days they have to report what they've done, but I don't see, is it months later, days later? I'd like to know that they have to respond pretty quickly to these allegations.
On receipt of a credible allegation, no, maybe, Finds it.
And maybe somewhere else in statute, or maybe it's one of the rules they have to but it doesn't seem like they should be making rules about that.
The unlicensed shall come into compliance with licensure requirements within 30 days after the receipt of the written notice. Is that-
Right, but it doesn't talk about the investigation and how quickly they have to investigate.
Well, if they have 30 days to get in compliance, then
After they've had a finding. That's the notice. They have 30 days to let the facility know about getting in compliance. It doesn't say how long after an allegation. Do they make a finding? Do they have to start an
Got it.
investigation?
Go ahead, Delegate Alston.
I would just say, I think normally when you're doing investigations, I don't think we put like a timeline saying you got to do this within this many days, especially if it's criminal, if it could be criminal in nature. I think they would go ahead and do it as quickly as they possibly can, and they could make those regulations through COMAR or through the agency process. I don't think we should put a date in there.
I felt like with children that within 48 hours of investigation, you've got to at least start the process or look into it. And I didn't know, since they're going to be propagating the regulations, if they should be the ones responsible for saying how long they get before they have to start. It could be 6 months later, we'll start looking into it. I just don't know that they should be the ones to decide that.
Yeah, but usually we don't get into the weeds like that because we give them the flexibility to be able to do it. Because then what often happens is that we come back here and then we have to fix it or change it. So we can, Delegate Woods.
In this particular case, we're talking about vulnerable populations, and there are restrictions for adult protective services, like in the same way that they are for child protective services. So there actually are restrictive timeframes that investigations are supposed to be completed within.
Correct.
But that's from within, in the department.
No, that, I'm saying that those are regulations.
Okay.
There are
Okay.
The extremely vulnerable children, that 12 or so children that were living in those facilities, we put some restrictions on how quickly they had to be investigated.
So where would that be? In Comar, or where would that be? Where would it be? One second, hold on a second. Where would it, go ahead.
The bill does say that the department shall adopt regulations to implement the program. Explicitly says that.
So, but we don't do it, they do it.
Right.
Is my question.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah. All right. But the Delegate Hill wanted us to do it, or consider it. Yeah. No, it's all good. So I think Delegate Rosenberg's correct. Yeah, so Delegate Rosenberg is correct that they would, create, right, issue the regulations and address the timing in there.
At Rosenberg, when we had those extremely vulnerable kids on the respirators and stuff, and we stepped in, I think it was a year before my time, and said they have to be investigated faster, was that done through regulation, or what was the situation there?
I don't recall the specifics, yeah.
Okay. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, but
Yes.
we have the opportunity with the regulations to jawbone, unless
you.
they're emergency regulations.
Thank you.
And we have the expert in the house. Okay. Was that the bill that we moved? Okay. Oh, Delegate Taveras.
Oh, I defer to Delegate Woods. I was just, if there wasn't a response to that, I was just gonna say that in line 10, we could say shall immediately investigate, but if there is a statute, we should follow that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? This is great. So the floor leader will be very ready. Where am I looking? To the left. Anyway, all those in favor say aye. You guys are not even getting it. You know, I'm trying to be funny here. Okay. I should stop while I'm ahead. All those in favor say aye. Any objection? Does anyone not want to be on the bill? Okay, great. Oh, I'm glad I'm not making my life. Okay, House Bill 815, and that is Lisa and Carlson.
As introduced, House Bill 815 would have established a breast and lung cancer screening awareness program in the Maryland Department of Health and require carriers to provide coverage for breast cancer diagnosis and associated diagnostic imaging, and recommend follow-up diagnostic imaging to assist in the diagnosis of lung cancer subject to specified cost-sharing limitations. The amendments make technical changes. They strike requirements for the department to establish a new program. They strike the breast cancer screening mandate and clarify the language regarding high deductible health plans. The amendments also require the department to conduct an assessment on current outreach, education, and health disparities in cancer screening and report back to HGO and Finance by December 1st, 2023 on its findings and recommendations. And I think I got it in here, the amendments before they were distributed. We struck the line that the carriers had a problem with, and any other screening methods recommended. So that should be out. If it's not, it will be out before it hits the floor.
Okay, Delegate Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the advocates worked really hard to get this done quickly. And one of the things I need the committee to understand is the reason the breast cancer part is not in this bill is because it was in an earlier bill that was done by the Speaker Pro Tem. And so virtually everything that came in this bill with respect to breast cancer was in that bill. So, however, the piece that's not in that bill, in the Speaker Pro Tem's bill, and I'm sorry that I don't know the number, is the use of biopsies. And so I talked with the carriers who said, you know, once you put biopsy in that bill, which has no cost sharing, we have a problem because it raises, we don't know how much that will raise the premium. And you'll recall that whenever we do these kinds of mandates, we always have the Maryland Healthcare Commission do a study to determine what the premium impact would be. So we are going to put, when in the crossing of the Speaker Pro Tem's bill with the Senate file, cross file, we're going to add with, and I have the permission of the Speaker Pro Tem, add a study, requirement for MHCC to study the cost impact of the doing breast biopsies. So this is one step beyond the MRIs that are in the Speaker Pro Tem's bill. So with that and the amendments that Lisa just said, although we also are making one other very small amendment, which I'll offer here. It's in here? No, the and MCOs. Oh. Right. In the study language.
That's in the other bill.
That's in 1217? Oh, okay. Never mind.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's all right. Better ask than miss something.
Okay, so with that, I would move the amendments.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Move the bill? Delegate Morgan, second. Oh, any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those, Delegate Olston? Oh. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Actually, I like that. So can you entertain me for a little bit? So our colleague, Diana Fennell, has been, going through breast cancer treatment. This is her bill, right? And she fought really hard for it. Are you okay with naming it after her, or?
Here, Chair Healy went through her breast cancer.
Yeah,
And although she didn't
Okay.
introduce a bill, I'm not sure that,
okay. All right,
I mean, she's a current
know,
colleague, and I don't
yeah.
want her to feel slighted. And we usually save those kind of things for people who retire.
yeah, and that's true, actually. And you know what? In all honesty, we usually in this committee don't do that because then we get into it. And it's tough to make those decisions. So let me keep that door closed for now, okay? Thank you. It was a great idea, though. Very great idea. Thank you. And thank you for being flexible, all of you, and entertaining stuff that comes out at the last minute. Thank you. Anyway, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any objection? And who does not want to be on the bill? Who does not want to be on the bill? We did not change it, so the bill is the way it is right now. Who does not want to be on the bill? Can you raise your hand? All right? Wonderful. Yeah, what happens is that when we start that, right, then we don't know where to stop, and then if there's 2 people, 3 people, and then your father, your mother, and then it's tough to stop. Yeah, but it's a great idea. It's a great idea. Absolutely.
A way, I wonder if there's a way, whoever the floor leader is, that could maybe in their comments say something to that effect that honors all of the members that have gone through
Maybe in
this.
explaining the vote.
In explaining the vote,
In
right.
explaining the vote, you know, you could use permission to use a delegate's name. So honor every woman in the legislature who has, in the spirit of being inclusive. Actually, men get breast cancer as well. So everyone who has experienced breast cancer, this is in your honor. Yes, how's that? Okay. This committee is so inclusive. Again, I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. Let's just move on to the next one. House Bill 969, and that is, see, okay, 1217, delegate, favorable with amendment, Lisa and Collison.
So House Bill 1217 requires health insurance carriers and Medicaid, including managed care organizations, to provide coverage for biomarker testing for the purpose of diagnosis, treatment, appropriate management, or ongoing monitoring of a disease or condition that is supported by medical and scientific evidence. There are amendments that delay the implementation of the Medicaid provisions until July 1st, 2025, that clarify the definition of biomarker testing, that strike language that would have included coverage for testing supported by specified consensus statements, and strikes language on prior authorization, requires the Department of Health to issue a report by December 1st, 2024 on the fiscal impact of biomarker testing under the bill. Any data on use of biomarker testing by race and ethnicity, and anticipated fiscal and access impacts of expanding coverage requirements for biomarker testing under Medicaid, and requires the Healthcare Commission to study the impact of biomarker testing coverage, including an analysis of the impact of providing access to biomarker testing to individuals based on race, gender, age, and public or private insurance. So one thing that came up during subcommittee just before this was there is a cross-reference in the bill that applies the insurance mandates for this bill on MCOs. And so there was some concern that that is sort of creating oversight by the insurance commissioner, which is not really the intent. But to address that concern, we agreed to include in the study language for the department that they would consider legislative changes. If you look at page 7 of your packet, and look at what is already one of the requirements of this study, it is recommendations on any legislative changes to the requirements under Section 1 of this act relating to the Maryland Medical Assistance Program. And the vice chair and I spoke to Kathleen Lochran right before voting between the subcommittee, and she agreed that that language would be okay if we add including MCOs or something to that effect right afterwards. So that is what was agreed to.
Okay, wonderful. Delegate Collison?
So again, this is a bill that folks worked really hard on, and in fact, we're working hard last night and this morning and came to conclusions, and everybody is on board with these amendments and the bill as amended. So, and I would move as part of the amendments, even though they didn't happen in the subcommittee, so if someone has an issue with it, let us know. But I would add that addition to the Section 4 that says that the recommendations will apply to the Maryland Medical Assistance Program and the managed care organizations. And I think that will allay the fears that the insurance commissioner will not be the oversight agency for the managed care organizations. So with that, I move the amendments.
It's been moved in second. Any questions or concerns about the amendments? Seeing none, on the amendments, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? On the bill as amended? It's been moved in second. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Who does not want to be on the bill? All right. And I know for the industry who's watching, this was a lot of work. I want to thank Delegate Collison and the committee, the subcommittee, and staff. And I hope it gets through the Senate, because otherwise we're going to find ourselves here next year, and this was a lot of work. That being said, this actually concludes the bill here, the voting session for tonight. We have to be on the floor tomorrow at 10:30. And do we have any other, do you anticipate they will be meeting this weekend at all? No? Okay, so for the committee, if anything changes, we will let you know. And just hold on 1 second so I can.
If you get any withdrawals.
Yeah, only if we get some withdrawal, and that may happen, then we'll meet on the, in the Silver Room and vote on the withdrawal, because they have to get on the calendar, okay? Other than that, we have worked through everything we have before, before crossover, which is wonderful. So just stay in your seats for 1 second, and I'm going to assign it. Can you take us down? Thank you, thank you. Well, everyone gets to go home early. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much. That's really sweet.